Hello, Empire. We got Garrett here with another episode of Regions Corner. This week, I'm giving you two videos this week. So today, we're going to talk about edges and how to finish them and how to do them. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. First thing you're going to do is use an edger, also called a beveler. They come in multiple sizes. Typically, 1, 2, and 3 are the three main sizes I use. Number 1 is used for, probably used the most. It's for thinner leathers, 8 ounce or less. Number 2 is 8 to 12 ounce. Very also one I use a lot. And then finally, number 3 is typically used for 15 ounce on very heavy, thick leathers or leather that you really would have a super round curve, especially on saddles and horse stuff. But this is the one I use the least amount. So today we're just going to use the number 1. So right here, we got a piece of leather here. Now it's very important, as you see here, this side's not dyed, this side is. So before you dye, like I showed in the last video, I'm going to show you why. You want to do all your edges first, because otherwise you'll get this. Let me get better. There we go. I just ruined that whole dye job I just did. So we want to make sure that we can't cut all the edges first, right? So now how does a beveler work? Obviously, you have the little end here, so you're going to put it on the edge. Different ones are different depending on the angle. For this one, I hold it here. That's why it has this big bulb handle. Just in case you're curious, this is a Weaver Mastercraft edger. They're not the cheapest thing in the world, but they are super nice. So we're going to just put a place on there, a little bit of pressure, and you're just going to push it along. And that's going to take that sharp edge off the end. Now, I always do both ends, because that's going to make, when we go to do our round the edges and give this a much more clean and professional look, it makes it a lot easier to do that. So now you have this nice round one. Even if I'm doing around corners, this is a really nice one because it's really easy to just glide along. Now, and that's all we're going to do. We do it on both sides, like that. You don't have to go for, you don't need to put a lot of pressure. If you're not getting a lot of pressure, it may need polished or sharpened, just like any other item. So right here I have my stropping stick, which is a little thing I'm going to show you how to make in the future. But we're going to just light pressure. I always start on the top here, and like that, so I'm polishing that base. And then I go and I work the edge here, like that. Not a lot of pressure, just nice and even. And then I stop and pick up. You don't want to round it off like that because you'll end up destroying rounding the corner. So just a nice straight 3 or 4 passes, and this thing should cut like butter. See, very minimal pressure. So you want to keep your tools polished and sharpened. There. Okay, so now we've cut the edger. Let me show you kind of what a 2-inch. So that was a number 1. And this is on probably 6 ounce leather. Let me measure here. Yeah, about 6 to 7 ounce leather. So number 2, just so you see that how much more this will take off. See, even I take even more off. So you get even more rounder corner. And I could even show you how much number 3 takes off. Normally I wouldn't do a number 3 on this, because you kind of get a sharp corner there, but you can see how rounded those edges are. So that's really only comes important if it's got something that's going against your skin and it's thicker leather. So we're going to go ahead and go back to this dyed piece here just to show you how it's done. Now there's a couple different things you can use. First off, I use a wood slicker. A bone one's the best, but good luck finding bone anymore. You can get plastic ones are much more common, but I just use a basic wood one. It's got different slots, so it's really important that you put the right size leather in that slot because it's going to round and smooth those edges. Sometimes I'll use this big one if I really just want to polish it up, but right now we're just going to use the one that fits the best. Okay, now where we're going to use it on the edge. Well, this is a great variety. First most, the cheapest thing you can use is water. Water will work. You will seal it. Next thing I use is a little piece of beeswax. And what I'll do is I'll just put the wax on there. And you just rub it on there just like anything. And that gives you your edge, something to slick down the edge. Now, what I personally like to use is what's called Tokonole. It's a Japanese product. Comes in black, brown, and neutral. I know that looks white, but it actually goes on neutral. So, which means is it won't not dye the leather. Now, the one thing is, if you're using Tokonole, I highly recommend that, like I talked about in the dyeing video, you go ahead and finish and put some Resinline on there because that's going to act as a resist. Now, if you're doing black on black, it doesn't matter. But if I'm doing, like, say, any other color, what will happen is this will stain the leather. So you'll end up, so if I try to do it on here and I slick it and then I dye it, you'll see everywhere where that Tokonole got all over your leather. Or if you're like me who likes to use contrast and use black on brown or black on other colors to make that edge pop, it will clean over and dye onto the leather. So you definitely want to use a Resinline or resist or something. Finish your leather before you do your edges. So, a couple different ways you can apply it. You can use a dauber, you can use Q-tips. I typically just use a finger and dot my finger on there. Once again, wear a glove. So I just a little dab. A little bit goes a long way with this stuff. And then we just run it on along that edge. So we do this right, we'll probably dye all that. But you see that right there? That's why you want to finish the resist first. And then I keep a rag handy to wipe excess off. And then I'm going to put it on there. Now, normally I do this on something a little more solid, but you can see it's a matter of friction and heat. So I just run that back and forth, and this is what makes Tokonole so nice. It really makes, I hope you can see just how clean and round that edge is and nice and shiny. Now, another thing you can do is, let's say this here. Where's a thing I will do a lot of times, especially when my leather's a little rough cut, I'll take a sanding block and I'll smooth out any imperfections on the leather. That also kind of helps, gives me a nice seal there. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this one with the wax. You don't need a lot of wax, just enough. But you'll feel the difference. It's got a lot more drag, a lot more resistance. Takes a little more work to get the wax heated and flexed in there, because what you're doing is you're compressing the fibers of the leather down and sealing it, and that's what's going to help keep the edge from fraying and absorbing material. So personally, I said, for my money, I go Tokonole. You just get such a quicker, smoother seal than you will with water or wax. But it's your budget. Wax still works. Wax is 100% acceptable. But when you go from wax to Tokonole, trust me, game changer. And then depending on thickness of leather, if I have a thicker piece, I'm going to move up to a bigger thing. And all I'm going to do is just this. Now, this is doing it by hand. You can buy a machine that does it. I'm definitely wanting to get one of those. You can also use Dremel with adapter bits. They'll do it. I've done it with a drill. But for a budget piece, just a standard wood slicker is great. Plastic is okay, but I just don't find most of the plastic ones are just made a little too cheaply, and just don't hold up as well. Now the wood ones are going to have to break in a little bit. There's even a technique where you can use a piece of rag and a lot of wax and do it that way, but I just feel that that's not good for the long term, because there's only a small window where it will work really well, and it's not a very big window, and it's not a very long window. So once again, I just use my wood slicker, and then even if I'm on round pieces, it's just simple as easy. Just work it in there, round that corner off. You can build things for it. A lot of times you can put it on the machine there, and then if I want to polish it up really nice, I'll use the top one. And like I said, just light pressure. You don't want to be jamming on it so hard that you compress the leather and then you get this wide spot. But as you see right here, if I were to dye this any other color, all this would be shown and stained, even on the neutral color. So this is why you want to, if you're going to use Tokonole or even wax, wait until after you've dyed everything, then resist it, either with Resilene or Pro Resist, whatever you're choosing. Give it its top coat, then come in and do the edges. That's going to save you a lot of hassle, because if I do this and then try to dye it, or if I'd done this with brown, I'd have this black stain there, and it would ruin the piece. And that is it for really quick video on how to finish edges, how to edge and treat finished leather. So once again, any questions, comments, go ahead and let me know. If you got suggestions for another video, I'm all ears. So with that, till next time, stay crafty.